Hello and welcome to this week's WandaVision recap show. I'm your host Grant Liston, a very bored Englishman. And of course, spoilers, if you haven't seen this week's episode of WandaVision, please go and watch it, then come back here and we can talk more WandaVision. Thank you. So yeah, this show is still insanely fun, but this week's episode is, it's really fun. Don't get me started, it really is. But it's annoying me just a tiny little bit now because it's got the balls to now go, oh, here's some more questions we're not going to answer. Answer the questions we have already, please. Oh, this show is really engaging, but it needs to answer our questions, please. So first of all, when I realised it was doing the sitcom format of 50s episode, 60s episode and so on, when it got to the 90s, I would have probably put money on it being, a Friends spoof, because let's face it, Friends is, the sitcom. But they went for Malcolm in the Middle, and it's really ridiculously charming. And I've spoken before about my disdain for child actors. These two are not bad. I'm not gonna lie, they do alright, I'm not irritated by their presence. There's a bit of new character behind them, and I don't really have too much to say about child actors because it could turn weird, so I'm not going to go too far, but they're not a nuisance, okay? In terms for audience, for the parents, they're a nightmare. So last week I freely admitted that my Hydra theory's looking pretty crap. Yep, I know. So we moved on to our next theory that Agnes, the nosy neighbour, is going to be, this mysterious witch who's secretly manipulating Wanda. Only for this episode now to basically show that she's also under this influence that Wanda's made, this whole neighbourhood, she's created. I reckon it's a bait and switch. I know it's a pretty foregone conclusion. She looks like she's innocent, this Agnes person, but there's something still a little bit too sketchy about her, and I'm not convinced that she's completely innocent just yet, because she's the only other character to be in every single episode, along with Wanda and Vision. People and characters have been in and out of the show. She's a constant person in this series, so there's something there. I'm just not quite sure what it is. So this week's episode actually centres around Halloween, and it's also the first episode to introduce other children in the neighbourhood, which they actually covered in last week's episode, because there's just no children in this neighbourhood. Holy crap, it's really fun. Okay, I was grinning like a lunatic through most of this episode, because you got Scarlet Witch outfit, you got the Vision outfit, and you got Quicksilver, and you got Speed and Wiccan, and it's like, these are probably the number one reasons why these films were never made in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, because these costumes are so weird and wonderful and so bright and vibrant, but if you put them in a Hollywood blockbuster, imagine Age of Ultron and this Vision comes out of the cradle. You can't take it seriously. It's a chance. And then you got the absolutely gorgeous Elizabeth Olsen strutting around in that, and it made me happy, but imagine if that was fighting in Sokovia, you wouldn't be able to take it seriously. And that's why the superhero genre suffered so long ago, because when you try to do, from comic to real life adaptations, there's some things you need to tone down. On the flip side, when X-Men did it, they just went black leather, move on. No spandex. Give and take, I understand. By far the standout character this week goes to Evan Peters' Quicksilver. Very fun, very charismatic. He's taken his Fox's Quicksilver over to the MCU, and he's really having fun with this role. And he's asking the same questions we are, how did you do this, Wanda? He seems to be in on Wanda's secret. He seems to know that this is all an illusion, and he's literally referencing he's in a sitcom, the long lost brother turns up on your doorstep, I'm here to give you grief. But why? And it also makes Wanda ask questions like, why do you look different? Because when we last saw, the MCU's Quicksilver, he was played by Aaron Taylor-Johnson. But then, even weirder coincidence, which I completely forgot about, Aaron Taylor-Johnson played Kick-Ass. Very funny first movie. And one of his friends, I think his name was Todd, is played by Evan Peters. And they even reference it in this week's show, how they're, oh, this costume looks kick-ass. Kick-ass. I completely forgot they were in the same movie together, and now they're two Quicksilvers. This week's conclusion is an interesting one. I don't think it had the same impact as last week's cliffhanger. Last week's cliffhanger to this week's one was, well, you saw my reaction, I needed to change my underwear. This week, however, it's enough to keep me going, but it didn't have the same punch. So, Vision tries to escape Westview, and as he's escaping, he's slowly disintegrating and falling apart, which makes complete sense when you realise that the Mind Stone no longer exists and his body was in tatters. So as he's trying to leave the make-believe world, reality's kicking in and he's disintegrating. So Wanda then goes berserker, freezes everyone, and expands the hex. So it absorbs all of Sword, not Shield, nearly said it wrong there. So it absorbs all of Sword and turns them into some sort of carnival, which is kind of like, oh, you guys are a bunch of clowns. So a nice little sly dig there, but I don't know who the dig's for now I think about it. But for the love of God, Marvel, Kevin Feige and whoever else is in charge, Matt Shackman's director, stop showing us Vision dying, okay? Once was bad enough, okay? It was harrowing and it left me speechless for half an hour afterwards, okay? Stop killing Vision. It's no longer fun, okay? During all this expansion, Monica Rambeau and Jimmy Woo are off to go and see a mystery person. But while this is happening, Darcy's left behind and is absorbed also by the hex. So from now on, we're going to be seeing Darcy inside this Westview nightmare. So it'll be interesting to see, because we're entering the early 2000s now. Maybe this one will be friends, I suppose. We'll soon to find out. But the big question now that I'd like you guys in the comments to give us a shout and see, who do you think Monica Rambeau's actually going to be meeting? I've given this some thought. I can't honestly think of too many people. There was a mention in a previous episode about an engineer who would love to have a crack at this. So could it be Shuri from Black Panther? Could it possibly even be the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Maybe it's a crossover episode time. I know Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. finished recently, but there could be some sort of character rebirth in that. Speaking of which, there's actually been a few rumours recently that Jimmy Woo's going to be getting a spin-off show. I love this character, Jimmy Woo. I think he's really, really fun for what he does. For the love of God, do not do what you did to Coulson. Phil Coulson was in Iron Man, he was in Iron Man 2, he was in Thor, and he was really fun as that guy who was almost in the shadows, and you kind of forget about him. And then he's in Avengers, and he's really, really fun. He fanboys over Captain America, you know, he's influenced all of their lives, and when he dies, it's a blow. It's a real kick to the gut that gears the Avengers in. And then you hear, oh, actually, he's not dead. He's been brought back alive, wink, wink, for a TV show, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And that show really sucks. I am putting myself through hell trying to watch all of it, right? The first half of the first season, the last half, ooh, interesting. And since then, it's been crap. I love Phil Coulson, I think he's a great character, and you ruined him. So don't do it to Jimmy Woo, okay? Just don't do it. That being said, what do you guys think of this week's episode? And who do you think Monica and Jimmy are going to be meeting? Let me know in the comments below, and we'll see you all next week for the next episode. Take care now.